Assalamualaikum and good day to all. I am Muhammad Kamal bin Ayub, your English teacher for today. In this video, we will learn how to answer questions for novel using the Supernova Map. During our discussion, you can pause the video if you need more time to read the notes. The novel that we are going to focus on is Dear Mr. Kilmer, written by Anne Schraff. The novel is about Richard Knight, who is a teenager living in the Turtle Lake Island in Iowa, US. First, I will explain our focus, then we will learn about the Supernova Map, how to use it, and finally I'm going to show you a sample of the answer. In SPM Paper 2, Section D, you will be asked on a question that is relevant to the novel. Remember, you are not only required to give evidence, but also need to give your personal responses regarding the discussed matter or issue. Therefore, we will learn two things, which are Supernova Map and what to write template. As some of you have problem to identify relevant evidence for the question, the Supernova Map can help you to practice and revise the questions. The map will serve as a guide to identify which event, characters, theme, or values that is relevant to the questions. Meanwhile, the How to Write template will help you to organize your answer and determine what you should write. Supernova Map is a map that maps out the relevant events, characters, characteristics, themes, values, based on the expected questions. It is hoped to be able to guide you to identify which evidence from the story that you can use to answer the questions or novels. This is the Supernova Map. There are 4 components in the map that you should know. The first component is the important events. They are in the red circle. The second component is the question keywords, written as Q, the yellow square. The third component is the themes, written as T in the green squares. And the last component is characters in blue square. You will refer to this map when practicing answering the question on novels. So as you can see, here we have the keywords in the questions. So we have Q1 until Q12. They are collections of possible keywords that might appear in the question paper. I'm going to give you a moment to read all the keywords. Moving on, here are all the themes. So we have T1 until T6. Please read T1 to T6, and you can refer to the details about the themes in your reference books. Next, we have the characters. For characters, please refer to their characteristics in your reference books. Another thing you should remember is you can also describe moral values or lessons based on the characters' characteristics. For examples, Richard Knight is a compassionate person. So, the moral value based on this characteristic will be, we should be compassionate to other living things. Now take some time to read all the characters. This is the most important component in the Supernova Map, the important events. There are 6 events in the story. The first is the hunting trip, followed by letter to Mr. Kilmer. Then we have card for Hannah, telling Pa poetry, role play, and the last one, the world is dead and gone. In this video, we will see samples descriptions of each event. You can memorize them as they serve as the evidence to support your answer. Remember, when we say something about the story, we need to provide evidence. Now, let us move on to the description of the events. The first important event is the hunting trip. This event happens in Chapter 1, where Richard, Pa, and Gus go hunting. Please pause the video and read the description. As you can see in the description about the event, we should mention the chapter which the event happens and the details of the events. You should describe details that are relevant to the question. For those who cannot remember the story, what you can do is you can memorize the description in this video. If you think you might not be able to remember all, you can start memorizing the underlying detail first. These details will at least help you to provide simple evidence from the story. For students who are more advanced, as you have read and have understood the story well, you can add other relevant details that are not available in the description that this lesson provides. This is the event in Chapter 2 where Richard gets to know Mr. Kilmer. Now, pause the video and read the descriptions. Moving on, the third event is card for Hannah. This is the event in Chapter 2 and 3 where we can see how some locals treat Hannah and her family. We can also see how others treat them in Chapters 7, 8, and 9. Again, pause the video and read the description. The next important event is telling poetry. This event is in Chapter 4, where Richard tries to share about his passion after being encouraged by Mr. Kilmer. This event is also related with Chapter 5, where Richard shares about his passion to his classmates. This event describes how Richard finally opens up about his passions in poetry to his family and friends. Another important event is the role play. This event is in Chapter 6, where Hannah and Richard are selected to be the Lady Liberty and the Dove Boy. Once more, you can also pause this video and read the description. And finally, the last important event is The World is Dead and Gone. This is the event in Chapter 9 and 10, where Mr. Kilmer died. Pause the video and read the description. Remember, writing relevant details about the event is very important. You can start by memorizing the underlying details in the description, then move on to the full description. In addition, advanced students can add more details that are relevant based on their reading if those details are not available in the description. This description in the video are only guidance to help you, especially those who do not understand the story well. Okay, now we are going to see some example of question on the novel and try to use the Supernova Map. Look at question 1. Question 1 asks you, friends should support each other with close reference how far this is true. In question 2, describe how one character's determination in the story has helped him to change his life. Now, determine which cue does each question refers to. Did you guess it right? If yes, good. If not, don't worry. Now, we are looking again at the Supernova Map. So based on question, describe one character's determination in the story has helped him to change his life. Which cue does it reflect? Which cue does it reflect again? If you say Q2, you are right. So, which event or events that have Q2 in them? The events that have Q2 are event number 2, event 4, and event 6. As you can see, each event has Q2. Now, as you know where to find the answer and evidence, we will learn how to write our answer. This is the general template on what you should write. Your answer should have introduction, where you must answer the questions. In content, you must give evidence and points with personal responses. Lastly, you should recap your answer in the conclusion. In introduction, start your sentence with, based on the novel Dear Mr. Kilmer, written by Anne Schraff, and add information about the characters that is related to the answers. For content, if the question does not state the points needed, give at least 2 points. Give your personal responses too. For conclusion, recap the answer and give your personal response and hopes. Later, in this video, you will see this component clearly in the sample answer. For now, there are 2 types of question for novels. The first style started with a statement like the example here. Another style is where the question asks you directly what it wants, like this example. Your introduction will be a bit different depending on the question style. If the question has statement, like this one, you should write your answer like this. And continue with the characters' introductions. In the other hand, if you get the second question that is direct, straight away answer the question. For example, in the question, decision making is important. Based on the novel that you have read, write 3 important decisions made by one character and how it affects the character. What you can do is, you can tell who is the character that makes the 3 important decisions. Look at the sample given. Okay, now let us try and use Supernova Map for this question. The question has the keyword in Q1 and also relevant to T1. Therefore, which event can we use as evidence? Yes, the events are cut for Hannah, the role play, and the world is dead. So, for this question, these 3 events can be used as the evidence to support your answers. Now, pause the video and use this table to draft up your answers. When the question does not specify how many points it wants, please give a minimum of 2 points. In the other hand, if the question asks for a specific number, give enough points, not less and not more than the number. For example, if the question asks for 2 evidence, you need to give 2 evidence. If you give 1 or more, like 3, for example, your mark will be deducted. As you can see in the sample draft, there are only 2 contents. However, you can give more if you want, as the question does not specify how many contents it wants. As the question is about friends supporting each other, the first content talks about how Richard supports Hannah, while the second content talks about how Hannah supports Richard. We should write the answer this way, because we want to show that both Hannah and Richard are supporting each other. When answering questions on novel, it is important for us to write our opinion or personal responses. Here is how we can write our opinion or responses. The first way is we can compare ourselves with the character. We should write, if I were, for example, followed by the character's name. You can refer to this example in this table. Another way is by giving our opinion by telling whether the action or situation is right or wrong. You can start the sentence by using either in my opinion or I believe. refer to the table for the example. If possible, we should tell the reason why for our opinion. For example, in example 1, the reason given is, this is because I think it is crude. And in example 2, the reason given is, I believe it is wrong to bully others because they have right to be happy too. If you are not able to do this, don't worry. At least you have told a bit of what you think. Now, try to write at least one sentence of your response or opinion based on the answer draft you made just now. You can pause the video now to write. Remember, we can either compare ourselves with the character or we can just tell whether we think the action is right or wrong. Let's look at the draft table. For content 1, it's given by comparing ourselves with the character. In the content, we talk about how Richard signs the card although the bullies are threatening everyone. So for personal response, we can tell whether we would do the same things. For example, it's as given in the table. In the second content, since we are talking about how Hannah supports Richard when he is sad and grieving because of Mr. Kilmer's death, we can tell whether we think it is right for Hannah to do that. You can see the example in the table. Now, let's focus on the conclusion. At the end of our answer, sum up all the things we have mentioned and don't forget to give personal response and our hope as a student or person regarding the topic or matter discussed. Let's look at the example given in the table. Finally, let us write our answer based on the draft that we have made. Remember, we should provide evidence, so use the note earlier on the important events to do so. You can either rewrite this event provided in this video, or if you can give more details and you think you need to rephrase the sample given to make it more relevant to the question, you can do so. If you need to look back at the event description, you can rewind the video. You can pause the video now to write your answer. Here is the sample answer for this question. For the purpose of the lesson, to help the less proficient student, the answer used the event description given in the early note without any changes. Bear in mind, for students with better proficiency and understanding of the story, you can rephrase the event descriptors to make it more relevant and more effective. Now, look at each paragraph. The first paragraph is the introduction. Remember, if the question gives statement, you can use this type of introduction. And don't forget to tell a bit about the characters related. The second paragraph is our first point that shows evidence of Richard supporting Hannah. Remember, you should provide your response or opinion regarding this action or situation. In paragraph 2, the sentence underlined is the personal response. The third paragraph is our second point. Here, we talk about how Hannah supports Richard. Again, the sentence underlined in the sample are the personal response. Finally, the last paragraph is the conclusion, where we should recap or repeat our answer in short, while giving our opinion and hope. For example, please read the conclusion. That is all for our lesson in this video. I hope you can apply what you have learned in the exam. I believe that each one of you can do it. You need to be like Richard Knight, who is determined and never give up hope and get what he wants. You can do the same thing too. What you need to do now is to use the Supernova Map to practice. Look for the question from past year's questions and reference books. Use the Supernova Map to identify the events that you can use as evidence and write your answers. For students who are not strong in English, at least what you can do is try to memorize the description events. Remember not to leave your exam paper blank. At least if you memorize some of the event, you will be able to write some answer. For students who are good, you can adapt the event descriptions with what you know from your reading. Don't forget to write your personal responses that are relevant to the story and the present time. That's all for me. I wish you all the best in SPM and the future. Thank you.